Is it possible that Trump doesn't know he can stop Israel? No, he knows he can stop Israel. Get out of here. Get out of here. Of course he knows. Everybody knows. If you know, he knows. What are you talking about? Especially someone who is as invested in like maintaining power and doing like shows of force like Donald Trump. That's all he knows. That's the language that he speaks. It's the only language that he speaks. Interestingly, J.D. Vance, Iran will never rebuild their nuclear facilities. We are seeing a foreign policy doctrine develop that will change the country and the world for the better. 1, clearly define an American interest. 2, negotiate aggressively and achieve that interest. 3, use overwhelming force if necessary. For once, for my entire life, American presidents have so misused American power that many in my generation have lost confidence in our country. President Trump is rebuilding that confidence brick by brick. It turns out you can just do what you said you would do. No mission creep, no protracted. Okay, they didn't do what they said they would do. Nathan J. Robinson says, interestingly, this actually precisely matches Chomsky's description of how U.S. foreign policy works. Decide what we want and then threaten people with violence if they don't do what's in our interest. The main difference between Trump and prior administrations is that Trump just straight up admits he's an international gangster who follows Vance's take what we want and threaten those who get in our way plan. Previous presidents pretended they cared about human rights. Exactly what I've been saying. Exactly what I've been saying. The major difference between Trump and previous administrations is that Trump does not play the nicety game in the way that previous Republican and Democratic presidents have played. When Democrats are in charge, they find they release an unlimited amount of NGOs, all of these civil society organizations in the country that we want to destabilize. A much more sophisticated propaganda campaign to justify why we have to do this. And perhaps they might even be a little bit slower to pull the trigger, but they still pull the trigger. Okay, but they try to at the very least play the soft power game, whereas the Republicans have also done that as well, make no mistake, but Trump doesn't do that. He just goes, I'm the boss, I'm the king, kiss the fucking ring. That, I think, in the long term, will have inevitable consequences for America because it destroys their soft power capabilities. And without soft power, you can't maintain 800 military bases because 800 military bases go from being a joint security cooperation to 800 different invasions. Okay? But that's later down the line. You know, that's not something to think about at this moment. Emily Schrader goes, somebody is in bed with Qatar because Donald Trump said, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do it, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. This was so funny. The panic tweeting from Trump was hilarious. Okay. Now, unlike Vladimir stop, Donald Trump could stop Israel. He has all the power to stop Israel. He could stop Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza. He could stop Israel from attacking Iran. He could do whatever the fuck he wants with Israel because Israel can't do anything without us. Okay? Anyone who tries to tell you Israel's a sovereign nation, they have every right to do whatever the fuck they want. Israel could do whatever they want. They would just find different allies. No, the fuck they won't. Israel is a simple extension of American foreign policy in the region. Anyone who tries to tell you that Israel is a sovereign state that can do whatever the fuck they want has not been paying attention. I'll give you one very clear example. If Israel was a fucking foreign nation state, okay, that does not have to rely entirely on the United States of America, they would not have spent tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on developing a sophisticated propaganda network in Western society, because that is supposed to create a permission structure for Israel to do whatever the fuck it wants, and that is supposed to make it so that average people don't actually ask the question, why the fuck does Israel get so much money? Why do they get to do whatever the fuck they want? Israel also has to maintain its seeming sovereignty and autonomy so that when they do stuff like this, there is a level of plausible deniability that's not supposed to bring the attention back to the United States of America. Israel cannot exist without the United States of America's unlimited backing, just as the state of Texas could not exist on its own without unlimited backing from the rest of the states and the federal government. Okay? It is utterly ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous to make it seem as though Israel could do any of these things without American support, especially since October 7, when there is enough reports on how much America has played a formative role. 70% of all of Israel's defense and offense has come from the United States of America. 70%. It is our missiles that defend Israeli society. It is our missiles that create a sense of safety and security so that Israel can behave in this belligerent way. It is our missiles and our targeting systems, our weapons that blow up tents in Gaza. It is our genocide just as much as it is Israel's genocide. This is precisely the reason why Israel spends so much time and so much effort making sure that they do a flow of Hasbara here in the West. Texas is the worst example. No, it's not. Texas is the best example because people think Texas could survive on its own, but its fucking energy grid, in an effort to maintain its independence on its energy grid, Texas has experienced tremendous issues.
Straight to a Fox News alert, President Trump says he's unhappy with both Israel and Iran, saying both nations violated their bilateral ceasefire agreement.
The president warning Israel that any military action will go against the deal after a senior Israeli official told Fox News that they will have to retaliate with force against Iran's missiles.
So the president right now is heading to the Netherlands to meet with NATO leaders. Here's what he said right before he left. Watch.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. How are you going to respond at the ceasefire? I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. All I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful.
Is it possible that Trump doesn't know he can stop Israel? No, he knows he can stop Israel. Get out of here. Get out of here. Of course he knows. Everybody knows. If you know, he knows. What are you talking about? Especially someone who is as invested in like maintaining power and doing like shows of force like Donald Trump. That's all he knows. That's the language that he speaks. It's the only language that he speaks. If he truly wanted that Nobel Peace Prize, he would have stopped Israel the moment that he came into office. He would not have allowed Israel to continue its ethnic cleansing campaign. The reason, one must ask the question, why he allowed it to continue. And the answer is simple. It's because he doesn't mind the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. He wants all of the Palestinians, he wants Israel to finish the job, to complete its final solution, to complete its complete genocide, its Holocaust in Gaza. Okay? He believes that this is he personally believes that this is a good objective, a military objective that Israel can accomplish. There's a difference between Israel striking a defenseless, vulnerable, captive population in its open-air prison versus Israel striking a sovereign state with ballistic missile capabilities that is also propped up in part by another mighty foreign adversary, Russia, okay, that has economic ties to another major global power like China, and with a militant deterrence capability that can actually punish Israeli society, and that Israel cannot continue its military conquest without America joining the fight. Israel cannot achieve its military objectives in Iran without America possibly directly invading Iran, as a matter of fact. Trump at this stage does not have the same appetite for that. Trump is like, yeah, keep doing genocide. If you want to bomb Lebanon in the process, go off, king, you know? But there is a difference between that and America directly involving themselves. A show of force as far as like striking nuclear facilities from America was I will say this much. The generals that were in Trump's ear were correct when they said Iran would not escalate significantly and punish and end up punishing the American forces and American assets in the region. They were right. It did look like Qasem Soleimani. It did look like the aftermath of Qasem Soleimani. Only time will tell if this was the smart choice from Iran. Why don't you talk about over the last 150 years, none of the Trump family has served in our military? Well, yeah, I mean, they're German. So not that long ago, they wouldn't have served in the American military. They would have served in the German one. Okay. And secondly, who gives a shit? Hamasdani? Oh, he's getting hit with the same shit. Hamasdani. Are you a tanky? Tanky, are you? I have to pee. I'll be back. This guy only asks this question over and over again. Why did you lie super hard about Iran breaking the ceasefire first when Trump himself admitted Israel broke it first? Wait, what do you mean? Lie super hard about Iran breaking the ceasefire first? No, Iran lobbed ballistic missiles. Literally, the last barrage of ballistic missiles that Iran sent was right at the precipice of the ceasefire, like immediately after the ceasefire. Okay? They did what Israel does. They behaved in the same way that Israel did. Israel considered that to be a violation. And I think if Trump were to allow Israel to continue striking Iran, they would have done way more than just hit one fucking satellite, or not satellite, one radar facility in Iran.
Well, we'll see. I'll let you know.
Are you going to be the agreement if the new dawn in the Middle East sank to the agreement you managed to achieve? What are your future plans for the region, for Saudi Arabia, Israel, Gaza, be hostages?
Look, you're asking me about women in the Middle East. It's getting a lot better. Things are happening at a high level. As you know, Saudi Arabia has done a really good job. It's coming out far faster than I thought. So we're very happy about what's happening with women in the Middle East.
No, I'm talking about a new zone in the Middle East that you managed to achieve last night. Yeah. It's in, the region is going to a new place with the specific agreements. Can you talk what's the future plan for Gaza, with the hostages?
Yeah. It's a new dawn. I appreciate the question. You're very nice. Who are you?
Thank you. I'm Nariya Cross, an Israeli tunnel for 2 years.
Well, we have to have Israel calm down because they went on a mission this morning. I got to get Israel to calm down now.
Did you guys speak with Prime Minister? Did you talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu last night?
I took everybody.
You know, both sides not to violate the ceasefire, but reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all.
Yeah. So he's more mad. He's more mad at Israel because he's saying that like Iran, lobbed a couple extra ones on the fucking as a buzzer beater. Okay. Versus Israel deliberately way past the point of the ceasefire, fired up their jets and traveled in the direction of Iran in an effort to go and do another bombing campaign in retaliation way past the point of ceasefire. So he's more mad at Israel than he is at Iran. I assume that even if the last barrage had no missiles lobbed past the point of the ceasefire, like the hardline ceasefire time frame, Israel still would have tried to do some kind of retaliation because Israel would have still tried to do some kind of retaliation because like they were very upset because they did kill a bunch of people.
And I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it. Okay?
How confident are you that Iran is be completely demolished?
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those B-2 pilots did an unbelievable job. And, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much.
Yeah, it's because the New York Times and CNN have now officially confirmed that the sites have not been demolished, and it makes Trump look bad. Preliminary U.S. reports says bombing sealed off entrances to 2 Iranian sites, but did not collapse underground buildings, meaning nuclear program is set back only a few months. So all they need to do is reopen the tunnels and dig back in. So he's mad. He's obviously mad about that, because then it goes against the propaganda that he wants to implement, which is like, yeah, we're so mighty, our dicks are so hard, our lethal military really destroyed the Iranian nuclear facilities. This is also kind of interesting, I think, because if the strikes set back Iran's nuclear program only by a few months, I worry that like Trump is going to look at this and be like, okay, then we got to hit it again. And I don't want that to happen, obviously. You know what I mean? Because this kind of stuff also gives Israel more cause to demand more military action from the United States of America.
Much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. It should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
You don't believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Well, Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things. And
there was no moon. It was a special night. Nothing to see here, but they did it anyway.
That place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys...
This is awesome. He's like, you have to apologize to my big, beautiful pilots, saying they didn't actually successfully bomb it. How dare you? This is not about me. It's about the pilots. It's about the pilots. They did a beautiful job. CNN hates our big, beautiful pilots. There was a woman pilot, too. CNN hates women. Clearly, CNN hates, Clinton News Network hates the women. We had DEI pilots. We had black pilots, white pilots, brown pilots, pilots of all different backgrounds.
Really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real ugly.
Israel says that they violated the peace.
Dude, it's so funny because like this was the most obvious assessment of all time. Once again, if we here at the HasanAbi broadcast, at the Piker Broadcasting Service, can make this assessment early on, okay, then obviously the American military can make that make the same assessment as well. And notice how the initial military accomplishment was to destroy the facility and also eradicate the enriched uranium supply, even though the enriched uranium had been moved from Fordow before the strike even took place, a week before the strike even took place. So obviously that goal was never going to be accomplished. So then they moved on to the second goal. The goalpost moved to, well, we actually destroyed the facility sufficiently. Well, it turns out they didn't destroy the facility sufficiently. So now there's two options. Either you just keep claiming that you destroyed the facility sufficiently, or it gives more of an opportunity for Israel and America to go back to the bombing campaign and kickstart the process once Israel's air defenses have been replenished.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We have major breaking news into CNN. 3 sources tell CNN that according to an early U.S. intelligence assessment, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back a few months.
That's right. So this is an assessment that actually is out from the Defense Intelligence Agency. That is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it was based on a battle damage assessment conducted by U.S. CENTCOM after the strikes, according to one of the sources. Let's go to CNN national security correspondent Natasha Bertrand, who has this exclusive new reporting.
Your silence is deafening. Why didn't you go to New York and go on the Sam Cedar broadcast? Is it because you hate Jews? That's crazy. That's crazy.
This is to that question that has been asked about how much damage has been done. This is a real question. It's also a political question that has been to something that Donald Trump.
Remember, what did this accomplish? What did we accomplish here? We spent a fuck ton of healthcare units. Okay, every military action should be every metric of looking at military action should be judged by how many healthcares did it cost? Okay, even from the American perspective, how many healthcare units did we waste on this? What were the military objectives here? Targeting the Iranian enriched uranium, targeting the Iranian nuclear facilities, and obviously the major objective here is to do regime change swiftly and efficiently, create popular mobilization, take advantage of any sort of sectarian infighting that takes place in Iran. None of those happened. Not a single one of these military objectives were accomplished. And in the process, hundreds of Iranians were killed. Almost 30 plus Israelis were killed in the tit for tat in the back and forth between Iran and Israel. Israel's air defenses looked not so great, you know? And that is with the entire Western world backing Israel. So what happened? Nothing. What could have happened, on the other hand, is Trump telling Israel not to do this, stopping Israel from doing this, and actually engaging in some kind of negotiation and lowering sanctions, lowering the nuclear sanctions with Iran, and have a much more reasonable, much more diplomatic Iranian leadership get success out of this negotiations process and go back to the JCPOA. Go back to the commitments that they had to the initial JCPOA agreement that was set up under Barack Obama. That would have actually made Trump look good. But he relied too much on the Israeli side driving the fucking process. He gave the steering wheel to Israel, and Israel is an insane, belligerent country. They're psychopathic. And here we are. Now you have now you have an Iran that is angry and understandably resentful, that is slated to leave the International Atomic Energy Agency, who might actually work towards nuclear proliferation down the line in an act of determining sovereignty, in an act of creating some semblance of protection for themselves. None of this had to happen.
Trump has been sort of dealing with here recently. What
a more
are you learning,
unified
Natasha?
Iranian population as well.
Yeah, look, Brianna, this is the first assessment that we are getting that the U.S. intelligence community has found about the battle damage that resulted from those U.S. military strikes on these.
This is crazy, bro. MOPs were created specifically for Fordow. There have been around 20, probably more, to be honest, MOPs that have ever been created, and the U.S. dropped 18 of them on Fordow on Saturday, and it was a tactical failure according to American intelligence. Maybe, dude, let me say something. Let me say something to you. Enshittification, okay? Have you heard of it? Have you heard of it? I think capitalism is so self-defeating that maybe it fucking even ruins the American military.
These 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. And as you said, it was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it is worth noting that it is a very early assessment. The strikes were only a matter of days ago.
Lockheed is quiet quitting, dude. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, quiet quitting. Boeing is already quiet quit. We know that already. Too much DEI. Too much corner cutting, cost cutting.
And the intelligence community is still gathering intelligence. They are still working to come up with a full, comprehensive picture of what exactly happened here. But based on a battle damage assessment that was carried out by U.S. Central Command, essentially looking at the images and looking at what was actually damaged, the Defense Intelligence Agency has assessed that the core components of Iran's nuclear program are largely intact, and that Iran's nuclear program has essentially only been set back by months. Now, we presented this information to the White House for comment, and White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, she did acknowledge the existence of this assessment, but she said in a statement that the administration disagrees with it. She said, quote, "This alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted..."
Dude, this is so lame. Oh my God, this is so soy. This is so unimaginably soy. Dude. Incredible soy right. Incredible things are happening on the soy right. You're hurting the feelings of our big, beautiful pilots. I can't wait for them to even mention that the pilots are women. It's gonna happen. Trust me. Okay? How dare you hurt the feelings of our big, beautiful pilots by leaking the intelligence community's assessment that their strikes was actually not successful. How dare you? I do worry that this kind of quote unquote leak might be coming from the hardliners that want, like, the more hawkish elements within the State Department that want to continue bombing Iran. I don't know, that are just like super invested in Israel's ambitions here. That is something that I worry about a little bit. Taking advantage of Trump's insecurities to be like, oh, you didn't do it? Well, I'll show you. I'll do it right this time. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
A perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their target.
Like, I don't know if we're having a serious conversation here for a brief moment. Those brave, beautiful warfighter pilots, okay, are war criminals. What they engaged in was a war crime, okay? I know that this is a scary thing to broach for a lot of Americans, but like, it doesn't matter if it's an American pilot or an Israeli one doing this. When you fly into a foreign nation's airspace with the express purpose of blowing up their nuclear facilities, what you are doing is a war crime. What those pilots were doing, even the female one, okay? Girl boss war crimes. That's what it is. I like that we don't even think about that. I like that that is not even a matter, that is not even something that's in consideration here. Like, no one is even entertaining the notion that, like, this is actually, one, an act of war, and two, a war crime. I truly feel crazy about, didn't the UN guy say it was legal though? Wait, what do you mean? What? Anyone that sanctions a tactical first strike, that anyone that sanctions a tactical first strike against nuclear facilities is insane. Okay, there is no world in which this is appropriate or allowed. And it probably wasn't a UN guy. It probably was a fucking NATO guy. Yeah, it was. It was Rutte. He wasn't the UN guy. He's the NATO General Secretary. And of course he said that. That's NATO. That's not the United Nations. Here, I'll give you an example from the not so distant past. Russia was engaging in a battle near a Ukrainian nuclear power plant. Do you remember how terrified everyone was that Russia was doing this? The dynamic doesn't change when America does it, because the actual war crime here is hitting a nuclear power plant. And it did get hit. Yeah, Zaporizhia got hit. Like, numerous nuclear power plants were under fire in the process. That doesn't change when it's like the receiving, on the receiving end, you have not Ukrainians, but like Iranians. You know what I mean? That's like not allowed or appropriate.
It's total obliteration. Now, it is worth noting here that there has been dissent, I should say, within the intelligence community, within the defense community, about just how much of an impact these massive bunker buster bombs would actually have on Iran's nuclear facilities. It was far from certain, given that these bombs had never been tested in an actual combat scenario, whether they would actually penetrate those very, very deep underground tunnels that lie underneath these nuclear facilities. And what we are told is that as of now, this Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, it does conclude at this point, again, it is still very early, that those underground facilities.
Yeah, NPT is completely destroyed since a country doing everything right got its nuclear facilities attacked. Why most nuclear armed nations even did not condemn it. From here on, the NPT means nothing is also correct. Like, what good is any of this? What good is the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, also known as the NPT? What good is that but a piece of paper to wipe your ass with if all of the fucking signatories are openly stating that this is actually very cool that America hit a fucking country's nuclear facilities that was actually abiding by the same fucking treaty? What are we doing? This is what I mean. If it's the rule of the jungle, then, and it's might is right politics, then everyone has to get more militant. Do you understand how this makes the world a less safe place? Do you understand how America's belligerence and Israel's belligerence in the global stage is making the world a less safe place? Now, obviously, the other side of the story is that all of these treaties and all of these conventions are mere suggestions, or rather, rules and regulations that the Western world has created specifically to bully whoever they've declared their adversaries, while they themselves violate all of those fucking rules in the process of enforcing these regulations and restrictions upon others. That is how it's been in perpetuity. That is what Western dominances look like. And now that America's time is passing as the singular sole global hegemonic superpower, other countries that are regional powers are also themselves violating these rules. Also, yeah, this was the other thing. Brigadier General Ismail Qaani, commander of the IRGC Quds Force, is alive and well. He appears in public at Iran's victory celebrations in Tehran, beating widespread allegations that he was killed by Israel. Yo, Brigadier Generals can be older than 23. Ironically enough, Iran has the opposite issue, where in Israel, everyone is like 18 years old and they're Brigadier Generals because they have rank inflation. Iran has a much older. Iran has a problem with like their Brigadier Generals being too old. Yeah, they have a gerontocracy themselves. Like there's no comfortable middle ground here where like everyone is like 83 years old in a position of power in Iran. Meanwhile, in Israel, it's like it's all inexperienced 18-year-olds. This is very similar with how Germany invaded and annexed Austria, and that led to appeasement. It was one factor, the World War II starting. The main difference is now that America is the one attacking and invading. The other countries are appeasing us. Yeah, no, I think that if the only analogy we have at our disposal is World War II, then yes, the sad state of affairs is that we are the Nazi Germany now, with nukes and also complete military dominance around the globe already. Like that is the sad state of affairs for sure. They've turned Fox News into a podcast studio. Lol. Wait, what? CNN intel assessment contradicts Trump. MSNBC ceasefire hanging by a thread. Fox News. Is Trump a Mount Rushmore level president? This is awesome.
And refuges, including the highly enriched that everyone has been talking so much about, those are largely intact. Now, of course, this does stand at odds with what President Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have been saying in recent days about the impact of these U.S. military strikes. Of course, President Trump said it was totally obliterated, and Secretary Hegseth did as well. And he actually also provided CNN with a statement. And he said that, quote, based on everything we have seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Our massive bombs hit exactly the right spot, of course, by these massive bombs. But the core components of the nuclear program, we are told they are.
How are you going to call yourself a professional streamer while letting this issue go on for weeks? Because I live in the United States of America, where our infrastructure is purposely dog shit, and there's not much I can do about it, even though we've tried to fix the problem. And I've literally brought in technicians here to fix the problem, and yet the problem has not been fixed. Unless I just I don't know, somehow contact Hezbollah to fucking lay down miles of fiber optic cables like they have in Lebanon, I'm not going to be able to fix this issue on my own, unfortunately. You know?
Are largely intact, and it only set the program back by a matter of months. Boris Brianna.
Natasha Bertrand, please stand by.
That is true, by the way. Hezbollah does have fiber optic cables. That's not even a joke.
Your gutless news. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group.
I thought you finally realized a fucking hardware issue and not an internet one. Yes, it is an internet one. We ran tests for the past 48 hours. We thought it was a hardware issue. We thought it was an Intel CPU issue. We actually changed the CPU, and the issue still persists. So clearly, it's not a hardware issue. As a matter of fact, it is the. We also have been nonstop looking at DNS. There is a ping plotter that is going on this entire time while I'm live. Okay, in real time for the past 48 hours, nonstop, and that ping plotter shows that. There is one of the nodes that is closest to me is basically acting out. Intel network chips are prone to defects, though. Most motherboards have them, regardless of the CPU type. No, I know that. Please trust that we are working on, we are monitoring every aspect of the issue here, and that the test that we've conducted shows that it was, as a matter of fact, one of the nodes that it jumps off to before it reaches my internet from the ISP that is experiencing blips. Yes, I did talk to the ISP, and yes, the technician came this morning. There is packet loss happening at one of the nodes before the internet reaches my home.
But people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Says that Iran violated the peace agreement, the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel was committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one.
Israel came out and said no loads refused, taking far too many loads. They got loads, the biggest loads you've ever seen, folks. Unacceptable. The amount of loads, terrifying loads, so big, so hard, so fat.
One rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that.
I don't care about Trump's condemnations of Israel on camera. I care about what he does behind closed doors. I care about what Israel wants to do and what Trump will allow them to do going forward. I also care about Trump scaling back Israel's violence and stopping it in Gaza. Okay? He can do that as well. This kind of like obvious resentment and anger that he's demonstrating towards Israel here is meaningless if it doesn't lead to policy changes.
Yeah, well, we basically have two countries that are...
As I've said before, Donald Trump says, Vladimir, stop. He doesn't have any power to like actually stop Vladimir, but he does have the power to stop Israel.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Wow, and that's what a lot of people are talking about, the expletive at the end, but that's he just being honest.
He's furious.
Right.
I had the opportunity to just talk to him before we just went on air for the 8 o'clock hour, and I said, I haven't seen you this upset in a while. What's really going on? He had just hung up with Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister, and he said that the prime minister is bringing all the planes back. I said, why are you so frustrated with Israel? And he says, because he didn't feel like it was good faith, that even though they still had some time until the ceasefire, that they essentially unloaded on Iran. I said, what about Iran as it relates to some of the reports that they're still doing their program? He says they got to save face for the country. They still got to appear to be strong. But he goes, their program is done. He said, our pilots fixed all of that when they hit their targets there. But he goes, I'm not happy with both of them, but more so Israel, because he goes, it's over, it's done. The program is done.
Well, and he also said in that press conference that he's upset with Israel because Iran targeted them after the ceasefire, but it was one missile that went nowhere, he said. So for Israel to retaliate against that when nothing happened with that Iranian missile, he doesn't feel like that was in Israel's, they shouldn't have done that, he said.
I'm all for Israel hitting every target possible within those final 8 hours. They got about 100 launchers hiding under tunnels. There's other people. There's other assassinations got to take place. These nuclear scientists got to go. These higher commands got to go. They spent their entire existence trying to kill Israelis and kill us. And now
we're back. We're back. Am I watching fucking channel? Am I watching Khan? Is this channel 14? Am I watching Israeli news right now? What is happening? We got to go back. We got to go back. We got to go back. We got to bomb them. We got to bomb them harder. We got to bomb them harder. Brian killed me. Yeah, Brian killed me went from Brian killed myself to Brian killed them.
What the president's referring to, and I think he's right, I don't know if they can do it, but when you have Iran's chief nuclear scientist, Mohammad Aslami, say on Tuesday, they're going to immediately tell Mir News they're immediately going to start again with their nuclear program. Well, I mean, that's like in your face to us and to Israel.
Well, we knew they were going to do that. We saw those trucks removing some of the enriched uranium out of the facilities. Mike Tobin confirmed that. Exactly. So where is that enriched uranium? We saw those 5 planes go in from China, go into Iran. Did they take enriched uranium back to China to protect it while Iran was preparing to get blasted? Where is that enriched uranium? But I have faith in this president, and I appreciate hearing him say they will never have nuclear facilities again.
But here's the other issue. They have to stop financing all their proxies. Ceasefire's great, but if you want to get to the next step, I don't know how you enforce this. Hamas can't get another dollar, Houthis can't get another dollar, and Hezbollah can't get another dollar. They did not back Iran when the chips were down. Either did Russia and North Korea, either did China. So we got to make sure that they just can't reconstitute and we're not back here in 18 months.
But if they do, Israel has great intelligence. We have intelligence. We would know where it is. And look what our military did on Saturday. They could do that again.
Well, but it's very hard to take down. What they did with Hezbollah, there's only going to be one pager operation, one walkie-talkie operation. They can't do this again. They cannot get rocketed from both sides. And Hamas has got to be finished. And in a couple of weeks, I guess they're going to look to talk and get the final hostages out. But they have no more money flowing to them right now, no more money flowing to Hezbollah. If that stays the same, then we could watch these guys wither. Lebanon could actually get Lebanon back.
Brian, you know, from an ideology standpoint, I agree with you. I agree with you that this is something that is deeply rooted in the radical Islamic ideology there in Iran, and they're never going to stop. But I do see the president's point of you got to give peace a shot, because he's not only dealing with Iran, but he also has to at least appear to the Muslim world, to the UAE, to Egypt, to Jordan, that he's trying to get a close to this. So working a lot of different factions right now.
But as you know, Iran is enemies to all those countries.
100%.
They just don't want to come out and say it.
Because of their people.
Right.
the Ayatollah. Most of the Iranians don't like this regime, but they have a lot of power.
The mullahs and the clerics.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I mean, like,
the mullahs and the clerics. Dude, these guys will die if we're not actively killing Muslims somewhere, okay? If we're not actively killing brown people over there, I will die. Okay, just please, one more bombing campaign. One more bombing campaign against a Muslim population, and it will be packed up. I promise it's going to be good. I promise this time it'll be different. Just please kill a little bit more. Just a crumb of more death and destruction, please. Yeah, it's like China in trade. Exactly. China is like, please, one more node of development. One more node of development. If I don't send Labubus, a shipment of Labubus, to the American countryside, I will explode. And for America, it's like, if we don't kill Muslims, we'll die. There's a life force that is preserving America, and that is exploding Muslim children overseas. We have to do it. We have to do it, or else we'll die. You don't want us to die, do you? I mean, come on. Come on, that'd be really fucked up. It's quite anti-Semitic of you to not want us to kill Muslims, actually. Why are there so many Muslim countries surrounding our forward operating base, Israel? They have to be eradicated. You sound very anti-Semitic.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
What is this?
How are you? We have breaking news. Everything
is broken.
And we said you expect very great. Put out a statement on truth, and they didn't do anything.
Yeah, he's also chalking that up as a W for himself too. He's like, yes, I've contained Israel by tweeting. I stopped Israel by tweeting super hard. I truthed.
That this might not happen again. Say in a couple weeks that.
Tired of it. I think they don't want it to happen again. And Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon, by the way. I think it's the last thing on their mind right now.
Mr. President, did Iran make any commitments yesterday about uranium enrichment?
About what?
About uranium enrichment.
They're not going to have enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they know that. They're going to get on to being a great trading nation. You know, they're very good traders, and they're going to be a great trading nation, and they have a lot of oil. They're going to do well. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Did they
the
promise?
last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
Can you clarify what you meant when you mentioned regime change in your Truth Social post the other night?
Which?
Regime change. Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people, and they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job, which is exactly what I've been saying for years. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. But we're going to...
Oh, yeah. Trump is also wrong about the Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Iran's Atomic Energy Agency, according to Tehran Times, says Iran's nuclear program will resume without interruption, and we are ready to restart enrichment. Our program will not stop. Now, this could mean two things. Okay? One is an emboldened hardliner position that has now taken root within Iranian society and certainly within the Iranian government, where they are now going to go full tilt on nuclear deterrence. Or it can mean so that they can once again have leverage. Oh, shit. Okay, calm down. Calm down, internet. I know. A little F, little blip, little baby F, little Fs, small Fs taking place. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Lots of Fs, micro Fs, but many Fs nonetheless. We got it back. We're good. No more Fs will be taking place eventually. Let's test out the delay, folks. The Piker Broadcasting Service is brought to you by the viewers. That's right, $6 a month or free in the form of a Twitch Prime. Your subscriptions are what keeps this broadcast going. The Piker Broadcasting Service will never serve ads unless they are contractually obligated to do so. Subscribe now to the Piker Broadcasting Service. You can also gift a sub to others. Burgles, thank you for the 100 gifted subs to the Piker Broadcasting Service, PBS. PBS. I don't believe anything it says in this voice. Could the Trump admin be further calcifying their war-starting pretext with these leaks? They complain about CNN saying the operation was actually unsuccessful, but are they actually upset about CNN saying that the threat is still there and is more real than ever before? I mean, I think they would say it themselves. I think they would, what do you call it? I think that the administration themselves would say it instead of leaking it to CNN. The admin themselves would be like, oh, our operations were very successful, but obviously it's not enough. We need to go again. I think there's different ways of going about it if they wanted to go back and create more, create a media environment that is already very thirsty for perma-war with Iran. I will not do ads unless I sign a contract to do ads. Yeah, it's true. Wemby posing with Mao? No. Oh, that's amazing. Oh my God. Victor Wembanyama stuns with Mao Zedong in newly shared photo. He's a ball knower. He is a ball knower. This is amazing. He's living his best life, dude. I'm stunned. I am stunned. Resurfaced photo shows Wemby might have become a Maoist third worldist. Victor Wembanyama comes back to the United States of America with newfound appreciation for global trade. Victor Wembanyama believes that the One Belt, One Road initiative will offer global prosperity to all parties involved, including the United States of America. Resurfaced from 2 minutes ago. JD Pon Wemby, welcome to the team. All right, let's keep going.
Be with, where's Marco? I think Marco's here someplace. You know, our great secretary would say. But we cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. They won't have a nuclear weapon. And I will tell you, the last thing on their minds is nuclear weapons. They don't even want to think about nuclear. And our B-2 pilots made this all possible. They had a magnificent hit in the dark of night with no moon, no light, no nothing. They hit the target perfectly, wiped it out. And the press is very disrespectful. I saw CNN fake news going, well, maybe it wasn't a perfect hit, it was perfect. They said maybe it did destroy it. We agree, it did destroy it, but maybe it could have destroyed it more. No, it couldn't have destroyed it more. Everyone hit. And it's very disrespectful to those great geniuses and patriots that flew those planes through tremendous danger.
Yeah, this is such a funny way to defend the military. This is such a funny way to defend like the otherwise failed military objectives by being like, you're disrespecting the troops. Like, you're not only are you disrespecting our.
It's an amazing period of time. Now we're going to NATO, and we'll get a new set of problems. We'll solve a new set of problems.
Do you think you'll meet with Zelensky when you're there?
They're calling them chair force. Believe it, folks. These guys, they are not sitting on chairs, okay? They got Tostitos fired up in the microwave on the B-2 bomber. 42 hours. They got a bed in there. I'd love to be on a B-2 bomber myself. Probably better than the Air Force, folks. Believe it. Air Force One, not the best plane. That's why I wanted a plane from Qatar. Love to be on one of those B-2 bombers. Watching the bombs fall down.
Yeah, probably. I'll see him. Yeah.
What would you say to him?
Say, how you doing? It's tough. He's in a tough situation. Should have never been there.
Sir, you said a couple days ago that you didn't think the U.S. should have to agree to the 5% increase in GDP on defense.
No.
Do you want to
I was the one that said that's what they should be paying, as you know. No, I should do something. And they're having a problem with Spain. There's always a problem with Spain. Because Spain's not agreeing, which is very unfair to the rest of them, frankly.
So the U.S. won't be increasing our GDP to 5%.
We should pay what everyone else, they're in Europe, we're not. A lot of that money goes to rebuilding their bridges, their roads, so it can take heavy equipment. And, we don't have any roads in Europe. We don't have any bridges in Europe. So, no, it wouldn't be quite the same thing for us. But we're with them.
Are you still committed to Article 5 of NATO?
It depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5. You know that, right? But I'm committed to being their friends. I've become friends with many of those leaders, and I'm committed to helping them.
What do you want the role of NATO to be going forward once these other countries are spending more?
By having a unified system, I think we're going to have stronger peace, better peace, and I think we have that. When I went to NATO, they were broke. When I first started this whole thing, it seems like a long time ago, 9 years, right? But they were broke. I knew it immediately. I said, you guys are broke. They weren't paying their dues.
How do you define Article 5? Like, you read it and you understand basic English? I mean, the funniest version of this is that he just simply doesn't know what Article 5 is, which I doubt. I know he's stupid, but like, I don't think he's that stupid, okay? I'm sure he knows what it is. I think he just means like, what are the limitations of invoking Article 5? I don't know, like, or how America interprets it. Like, something that I've talked about in the past is like, would Article 5, would America or all the NATO nations invoke Article 5 if, like, Lithuania was being attacked? You know what I mean? I don't think it would. I don't personally think they would. It's just a matter of like what the response is, how much they want to defend Lithuania. I mean, in the past, there have been, as you guys know, when Turkey and Greece got into conflict, Turkey, a NATO nation, very clearly did not trigger Article 5, Greece did not trigger Article 5, and neither did Turkey when they fought one another. Maybe he means like that,
7 of the 28 countries at the time it was 28 were paying their dues, but they were.
Dog, you have like 10 Lithuanians watching, and what you're saying is scary. I'm just trying to make sense of what Donald Trump means here. Okay, that's all this
weren't
is.
Paying very much. NATO was broke. Then I said you're gonna have to pay, and we did a whole thing, and now they're
Clip it for when HasanAbi
Then I said you're gonna have to lift it to 4% or 5%, and 5% is better. And I guess they're voting on that today, but they're gonna be lifting it to 5%. That's good. It gives them much more power.
Mr. President, if there's language in the final summit.
Wait, he leaked the text from Mark Rutte. Mr. President, dear Donald, congratulations and congratulations and thank you for your decisive action in Iran. That was truly extraordinary and something no one else dared to do. It makes us all safer. You are flying into another big success in The Hague this evening. It was not easy, but we've got them all signed on to 5%. Donald, you have driven us to a really, really important moment for America and Europe and the world. You will achieve something no American president in decades could get done. Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should, and it will. No, he didn't write this. This is not real. Is he writing? First of all, it's shocking how he's able to write this text message while he's bouncing on it, if it's real. Okay? Because I don't know how he was able to see the phone through the bubbles he was blowing right in front of his eyes. Secondly, they confirmed it was real. What? Dude, he's mimicking Trump's text patterns. Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should, and it will be your win. Safe travels and see You at His Majesty's dinner, Mark Rutte. That is so cringe, dude. It sounds like sarcasm. No. Mark Rutte is a major dick rider. Okay? So no, I don't think this is sarcasm. Especially the part about Iran being like, you did an incredible thing in Iran. In Iran, you did an incredible thing. In Iran, believe it. Like that makes sense. Oh, God. These guys are such fucking losers, man. They're such losers,
about
bro.
aggression by Russia. Would you be okay with that kind of language?
Well, I'll have to take a look at it, but I'd like to see a deal with Russia. As you know, Vladimir called me up. He said, "Can I help you with Iran?" I said, "No, I don't need help with Iran. I need help with you." And I hope we're going to be getting a deal done with Russia. It's a shame. 6,000 soldiers died last week. More, 6,500 soldiers died last week. Russia, Ukraine, a war that never would have happened if I was president. So enjoy your flight.
Let me ask you one more follow-up. In your comments just now about Article 5, that will probably make some people in Europe concerned. Can you clarify what you mean? Are you still committed to mutual defense?
I'm committed to saving lives. I'm committed to life and safety. And I'm going to give you an exact definition when I get there. I just don't want to do it on the back of an airplane. Okay?
And one other question on energy. What's your take on the oil price situation right now, and are you concerned?
I love it. It dropped almost $10 yesterday. I put out a statement, get it down, because a lot of people aren't able to do things when the energy goes down. We're going to have a lot less conflict. So it came down, and our energy department's doing a great job. We're drilling like we've never drilled before. We're keeping it down. We're going to keep it down until all these wars are settled. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you.
Iranian sleeper cells in the United States.
Biden let a lot of supercells. And Biden was an incompetent president, had no idea what he was doing. He hardly ever signed a document. Other people signed documents for him with the auto pen. It was gross incompetence. And among everything else, he let a lot of supercells in.
Supercells? Raw earth? Supercells? This man is so fucking Brandonized, dude. He is so goddamn Brandonized. The Brandonification is complete, brother. Supercells? Okay, now I genuinely do believe. In the past I've said, maybe, jokingly said, maybe he truly believes that like asylum seekers are actually escaping insane asylums. Now I 100% believe it. He literally thinks that asylum seekers are not actually going through a legal process of seeking asylum in the United States of America, but instead actually escaped insane asylums in like Guatemala and shit. And he thinks sleeper cells are called supercells. Oh my God, he is so fucking stupid. God damn it, dude. Supercells? 100%. The MS-13 knuckle tattoo Trump still believes has the letter M, the letter S, the number 1, and the number 3 on Kilmar Breaker Garcia's knuckles too. He straight up thinks all of these things. Oh my Lord, he is so fucking dumb. Oh my God, he is so stupid. How can someone be so fucking stupid? How can, God, America is so dumb. America is so stupid that they looked at this spectacularly stupid guy and were like, this guy should have access to the nuclear launch codes. Oh, yay, what a fucking insane country we are. Jesus Christ. And they still glaze him. They still say 5D chess moves, sir. Excellent moves, Mr. President. And as long as he does stuff that like the liberal media and the military industrial complex appreciates, like fucking bombing Iran, they will continue glazing him as though he is some normal ass dude making normal ass decisions. Incredible. He thought stealth jets were literally invisible. He's like, I saw them. They're not invisible. They're very visible. Why do they say they're invisible?
Find out a bit more right now about the president's very stern call with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just a little while ago as the ceasefire was hanging in the balance. CNN political and global affairs analyst Barak Ravid is joining us right now. He's also a global affairs correspondent for Axios.
Yeah. Okay. What a wonderful state of affairs here. Guy who worked for AIPAC interviewing Israeli defense operative. What is our media, man? Okay, I'm going to repeat this one more time. Wolf Blitzer, Papa Wolf, love him, okay? Literally an AIPAC a spokesperson. This is not like me being like anti-Semitic or something. Like straight up worked for AIPAC and was a press person for AIPAC. And the guy he's interviewing, Barak Ravid, who is a famous quote-unquote journalist, award-winning journalist, is literally an Israeli, was a fucking Israeli intelligence operative. And possibly still is an Israeli intelligence operative, okay? What the fuck?
Barak, thanks so much for joining us. I want to read what the president posted on his Truth Social site earlier this morning after cursing out both Israel and Iran. He wrote this, and I'm quoting Trump. Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Barak, what did you learn about that conversation between Trump and Netanyahu that led to that post?
Hi, Wolf. According to Israeli news official, this call was pretty difficult. One U.S. official told me Trump was very direct and firm with what he told Netanyahu. He basically told Netanyahu abort mission. And Netanyahu, according to Israeli officials, told the president, look, I can't abort mission. The Iranians violated the ceasefire. They fired the missile. I have to do something. So at the end, Netanyahu told Trump that he's going to scale back this attack. And from a list of 12 targets, many of them in the center of Tehran, at the end, the IDF struck one target, one radar outside of Tehran, which I think it's a pretty unprecedented thing that, you know, the president of the United States goes out in public calling on Israel to abort mission, and Israel doesn't. I think it's quite extraordinary. And if we, you know, if there's one thing that showed us.
By the way, I do get to say I called it here. Okay, I told you that Israel was not fucking happy, and this was even before the Iranian last salvo of missiles came through. Like it was clear that they were not happy about what had taken place, and they wanted to fucking shred the ceasefire. And I think that they still want to shred the ceasefire, for the record. Reports are coming out of both Israel and Iran suggesting drones have been detected either heading to or in each country's airspace. We'll see what that means. We'll see what's going on. I think the Israeli Air Force just released a statement too. Let's see. The Air Force intercepted 2 unmanned aerial vehicles. Whoa, what the fuck? They just changed the way that they translate stuff now on Twitter. The Air Force intercepted 2 unmanned aerial vehicles earlier this evening that were heading toward the country's territory, likely from Iran. The interceptions were carried out outside of the country's territory. Alerts were activated in open areas in accordance with policy. Didn't you say one phone call would stop Israel? I guess the phone call didn't work. If you think that Israel simply wanted to take out one of the fucking radar sites in Iran and not just like immediately go back to a full tilt bombing campaign, you're out of your fucking mind. It wasn't one phone call. It was one tweet that stopped Israel. So that's number one. And number two, the reason why the one phone call thing works, the reason why the one phone call thing is like what I've stated time and time again is like the power that America has over Israel is because of what comes after the phone call if Israel doesn't follow through on the phone call. As I said earlier today, I said, one phone call is all it takes. And if it doesn't work, weapons embargo. And if that doesn't work, sanctions. And if all that doesn't work, military invasion. I disagree with you, Avi. I don't believe that Trump has any actual frustrations with Israel. I think their public messaging is just is just this way to keep the anti-war sentiment to not gain foothold in the Democratic establishment as they climb the ladders of escalation. Oh, I don't think you're wrong. I think he's just mad because Israel is like sullying whatever long form plans that they have in place. Israel has internal pressures that and also their own personal ambitions. And I see this as Israel testing out the grounds of like how far they can take it, how much they can move beyond whatever lines that Trump has set. They did this with They did this with Joe Biden. They walked all over Joe Biden with regular frequency, and Joe Biden just ate it over and over again. Now we'll see if Donald Trump